Syria has a rich cultural history and contains some of the oldest cities in the world. One example is Damascus, which is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. It was mentioned in both the Old and the New Testament and was a major commercial center. Syria's location made it an essential hub in the trade networks of the ancient world, which also made it a desirable asset for many empires over the ages. In this video, we will take a look at 13 cultures that once ruled areas in Syria. The Sumerians. The ancient Sumerians are thought to have been one of the first great human civilizations. They originated in Mesopotamia, which at the time was called Sumer, and the Sumerian culture emerged around 4500 BCE, approximately 6,000 years ago, in what is now present-day Syria and Iraq. The culture was centered around the floodplains between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, which allowed for abundant agriculture due to the nutrients the annual floods added to the soil. This area had an ample water supply with which to irrigate crops during dry seasons. The Sumerians made full use of the so-called Fertile Crescent, which many historians believe to be the birthplace of farming. However, the Sumerians were not the first to engage in agriculture. The Sumerians are credited with many technological innovations, such as the plow and canals, which allowed them to advance farming practices. Their food production techniques meant they had enough resources to begin building permanent and lasting structures, such as cities and temples, which demonstrated their wealth and superiority. The location and resources of Syria soon attracted the attention of other aspiring cultures and made Syria a desirable asset to emerging empires. The Amorites. The Amorites ruled Syria, Mesopotamia, and Palestine from around 2000 to 1600 BCE. They possibly originated from the western fringes of Mesopotamia, the Syrian desert, or the upper Euphrates region and migrated to northern and central Syria. In Syria, they established powerful city-states, including Carchemish and Aleppo. They are best known for their king, Hammurabi, who ruled the kingdom of Babylonia. The Matani. The Matani flourished around 1500 to 1360 BCE and was founded by Indo-Iranians in Syria and Mesopotamia. Historians speculate that the Matani were one of a number of Aryan tribes that split off from the main tribes and migrated to Mesopotamia, while the bulk of their people later settled in India. The Matani competed with Egypt over control of Syria, although the Egyptians and the Matani established peace with Egyptian King Thutmose IV during the 1400s BCE. This alliance was probably established through diplomatic marriages. The Matani Empire collapsed due to internal strife and external pressures from the Assyrians and the Hittites. After the Matani Empire fell, it became a vassal state of the Hittite Empire and was referred to as Hanalgabat. The Hittites. The Hittites were an ancient Indo-European Anatolian people who originated beyond the Black Sea. They ruled areas in northern Syria between roughly 1600 and 1200 BCE and were known for their advanced iron goods. They clashed with Egyptian pharaoh Ramses II in 1274, and the two powers created the world's first known peace treaty, with each empire pledging not to invade the other's territory. The Hittite Empire began to go into decline around 1200 BCE due to civil wars and external threats. After the Hittite Empire collapsed, its territory was claimed by the Assyrians, and the Hittite culture vanished from history until the 19th century, when remains of the Hittite capital were discovered. The Assyrians. The Assyrian Empire exerted power in Syria not once but 3 times in 3 different variations. Founded in modern-day Iraq, it was a formidable empire that, at its peak, encompassed territories that stretched from Egypt to Anatolia. The Assyrians first gained control over some parts of Syria during the Old Assyrian Empire from 2000 to 1750 BCE, mainly through trading colonies. They regained and extended their reach into Syria during the Middle Assyrian Empire from 1365 to 1020 BCE, when they established dominance over some key regions. They finally ruled again during the Neo-Assyrian Empire from 911 to 599 BCE, where they achieved their greatest level of dominance in Syria. The Assyrians were able to integrate Syria into their empire fully during this time, and they sustained direct rule over the country. The Canaanites. The Canaanites occupied the coast of Syria since at least the early Bronze Age, and they established cities and a distinct culture in the region. However, their influence was waning as the Middle Assyrian Empire began to decline in the late 11th century BCE. The Canaanites were Semitic-speaking pre-Israelite inhabitants of Palestine, and they were influenced by several different cultural influences, including Egyptian, Mycenaean, and Mesopotamian. It is believed that the Canaanite Empire ended due to a myriad of factors, including natural disasters, economic disruptions, and advances in military technology. The Phoenicians. As the Canaanite and Assyrian influence lessened in Syria, the power of the Phoenicians grew. The Phoenicians were descended from the Canaanites, and they ruled the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, along with areas in Syria. The Phoenicians were skilled seafarers, which, when combined with their shrewd trading prowess, meant that they could make full use of Syria's strategic trade position. The Phoenicians built a vast trading empire that encompassed the Fertile Crescent and the Mediterranean islands, as well as the Iberian Peninsula, reaching the Atlantic Ocean. The Arameans. The Arameans were an Aramaic confederacy of tribes that ruled a large part of northern Syria from the 11th to the 8th centuries BCE. Some historians theorize that they displaced the remaining Amorite population during their reign. However, the process of displacement was a gradual development, involving assimilation and a period of coexistence rather than an aggressive ousting. The Aramean territory was called Aram, and its borders fluctuated during their rule, at times roughly corresponding to the modern boundaries of Syria and northwest Iraq. The Arameans' most powerful city-state was centered in Damascus, and at its peak, the Aramean Confederation stretched from the Dead Sea to the Tigris-Euphrates basin. The Aramean influence was destroyed by the Assyrians in the 730s, when Neo-Assyrian forces overran Damascus and other Aramean states in the 700s BCE. The Babylonians. After the fall of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, the Babylonians became the dominant power in the area. Once again, the Egyptians also wanted to rule Syria, and the region became a battleground between these two powers. The Babylonian rule of Syria occurred during the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which lasted from 605 to 539 BCE. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was based in Babylon on the Euphrates River in modern-day southern Iraq. This resurgence of the old Babylonian Empire was due to the fall of the Assyrian Empire, which left a power vacuum in the area. In 605 BCE, the crown prince, Nebuchadnezzar, achieved a victory over the Egyptians in their fight over Syria and established Babylon's control in the Levant. When he became King Nebuchadnezzar II, he strengthened his empire by reinforcing garrisons in Syria and Palestine. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was defeated by King Cyrus the Great of Persia, who established the Achaemenid Empire in the region and also brought Syria under his control. The Achaemenids. The Achaemenid dynasty was an ancient Iranian dynasty that originated in Persia. They ruled in Syria from 539 to 330 BCE, and their domination ended 2,000 years of Semitic rule in the area. The period of Persian Syria, which lasted from around 538 to 331 BCE, is poorly documented in comparison to other periods of time. The lack of surviving records is likely due to the fact that Persian administration wrote on perishable materials like papyrus and leather. Historians do know that the Persians allowed local Syrian dynasties to govern several coastal cities and were treated as allies as well as subjects. These cities also were permitted to practice their own religions and continue to trade. The Greeks. Syria then came under the control of the Grecian Empire when Macedonian Greek King Alexander the Great conquered the Persian Empire in the 300s BCE. Alexander introduced a complex division of administration, with regions governed separately. After Alexander died in 323 BCE, his vast empire was split between his warring generals, and Syria came under the control of Seleucus I Nicator, becoming part of the Seleucid Empire. The Seleucids split the north into 4 satrapies, founded military colonies, and built new cities, including Antioch. The Seleucid Empire was highly organized with several subdivisions, with the boundaries and numbers of satrapies varying during their rule. In around 200 BCE, Antiochus III, another Hellenistic Seleucid king, took control of southern Syria and reintroduced the satrapy system. Antiochus IV Epiphanes further spread the Greek culture from 175 to 163 BCE. He promoted Greek political ideas, increasing the organization of cities, expanding urban areas, and promoting municipal autonomy. Despite these gains, ultimately, Syria disintegrated under the Seleucid kings due to rivalries and near-constant civil war. Gradually, 3 tribal dynasties, the Jews, the Etrurians, and the Nabateans, took control in southern Syria. At the same time, in the north, the Seleucids only kept control of the areas of Antioch and Damascus. The Romans. The Romans ruled Syria beginning in 64 BCE. when Roman general Pompey executed the Seleucid king and annexed the region. At first, Rome ruled Syria as a single province and stationed one legion to keep order there. Pompey didn't do much to change the ruling system in Syria, but he did re-establish some cities and reduce the kingdom of Judea. Syria soon became one of the most important provinces, and the Romans spread their influence throughout the region. Around 193 CE, Roman Emperor Septimus Severus split Syria into Cilicia and Syria Phoenice. By the beginning of the 5th century, the country had been divided into around 5 provinces. Despite vast urbanization and Hellenization of the upper classes, most of Syria remained rural, and the lower classes still spoke Semitic dialects, including Aramaic. After the collapse of the Roman Empire, Syria was ruled by the Byzantines, eventually coming under threat of attack from the Persians and Arabs. By the end of the 7th century, Syria had been absorbed into the Umayyad Caliphate. The Egyptians. The Egyptians had a long and complex relationship with Syria, having ruled there several times and warring with other empires over control of the region. Egypt first ruled Syria during the New Kingdom from 1539 to 1075 BCE. They occupied parts of southern Syria while sending armies into the north. In 1457 BCE, Pharaoh Thutmose III won a battle against the Canaanites. Still, the ancient Egyptians were never able to fully secure their rule of Syria due to challenges from other powers, such as the Hittites and the Matani. During the 19th century CE, Greater Syria experienced an Egyptian military occupation after Egypt defeated the Ottoman forces. Areas of the Syrian provinces were ceded to Egypt in the Convention of Kütahya, and Ibrahim Pasha, the son of Muhammad Ali Pasha, whom many consider to be the founder of modern Egypt, was made governor of the region. During the 20th century, Syria and Egypt merged and formed the United Arab Republic. This union was short-lived and only lasted from 1958 to 1961. Many Syrians were dissatisfied with the union, and there were political, economic, and military tensions. In September of 1961, Syrian army officers staged a coup that regained independence for Syria. Today, Syria's internal conflicts continue, with various factions: the Syrian regime, rebels, the self-styled Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, Kurds, and foreign militias like Hezbollah, all fighting for control. With neighboring countries struggling to host Syrian refugees, the world awaits peace in this war-torn and controversial Mideast region. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Syrian history, check out our book, Ancient Syria, a captivating guide from the Albites and Akkadians through the Arameans and Assyrians to the Seleucids, Romans, and Byzantines. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.